I'm focused on this theory cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Zoran Mamdani and something really, really dumb that Jon Stewart said that is saying that, oh, this is his like Jackie Robinson moment or whatever. And I hate when leftists or liberals or whatever will compare different things, like the trans ideology stuff. Sorry, I knocked over my water bottle. Um, to the Black experience and to Black history, to Black culture. I just it's so annoying, and it's not because I I don't know, a Blacktivist or something like that, or trying to be like extra protective or something, but there's a significant difference when you're comparing someone who's different, who has a different ideology, and compare that to people who are a different like ethnicity or race or whatever. It's just doesn't make any sense. I understand that obviously there's a complex history with African Americans in the United States, so other groups want to cling on and appropriate off of that historical pain and the shame that many people feel towards what was done. But knock it off. Knock it off. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. So I got to talk about that. I also want to talk about Donald Trump and how he updated the White House website. And I'm not a fan of some of the stuff that he put on there regarding the East Wing. And I told you guys that we talk about it, but we ran out of time yesterday. So I'm going to show you guys it today. Also, I do want to talk a little bit about Tucker Carlson having on Nick Fuentes a bit, and just some of the things that he said. But I want to thank you guys for popping in. I want to make sure that my audio is good and people can hear fine. If you're in the chat, you can just kind of let me know if everything is good on your end. But I want to thank you guys for being here, for watching live. For those of you who watch back later, maybe you watch back later. You guys can go to blacktnews.com, check out different articles and videos and so on the website. If you okay, thank you. Audio is good. Thank you. That if you guys can check out different things on the website. If you want to support, you guys can go to blacktnews.com/donate. There's also a link in the description, so you guys can check that out as well. Today is my release day for my book, and I'm really excited about it. I showed you guys some of the photos from my book signing that happened yesterday. I'm sorry, not yesterday, on Saturday, and we had a really good time. People were really into drawing the baby dinosaur and very proud of their drawings and coloring. People really loved it. They said it was a beautiful, it was just a beautiful story, beautiful book. And so we got great compliments on the art, on the story. And people are like, what's the next big thing? What's happening next? Are you going to continue more stories with this? And so I'm contemplating it. I don't think, I guess the demand will just have to be there. I guess I have other ideas that I want to, other children book ideas that I've talked to my sister about, that I feel are really in her wheelhouse as far as her watercolor paintings. And like she is really good with drawing animals, but particularly a lot of different sea stuff. So I had this other idea that I had about a crab. So I think that's going to be the next thing that I ask her to do. And then I also had like this other idea about a jellyfish. So if I return to the world of bigger, it's probably, I guess I could write something quickly enough. But as far as something else being written and done, I mean drawn, that's not an immediate project, but we'll see if the demand is there. My sister was a very kind sister, and so she did the work for me up front. So I'm like slowly paying her, what she deserves, um, via like the profits and stuff. So, please support buy the book. And if I know some of you have bought it and ordered it today, ordered it before pre-order. So I do thank you. You guys can go to ninjadoespublishing.com and buy it. There's a link in the description if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube that'll take you to my website where you can buy it. And you can buy a signed copy if you're in the United States. If you're outside the United States, I do have like a form on my site. You guys can get it a signed one, but it's going to cost more. And I just want people to be kind of aware of that before they go that step. So you can, if you want it, you can. But otherwise, Bigger is available on Barnes and Noble and Books a Million and Target and Amazon. I don't know why the metadata for the hardcover has not popped up though. I had to contact Ingram Spark to try to get that figured out, but I promise you that that will go through. But if you want to order a hardback, but you can also get an ebook. The ebook also cleared. So on Amazon, I still have to put up on other sites. I'm not going to be like exclusive with Amazon when it comes to the ebook. So it won't be available for Kindle Unlimited. So there'll be more updates along the way. I'm probably not going to stream on Thursday because I got invited to go on the news. So I'll be interviewed on the news in Lansing on Thursday. So that'll be cool. Me and my sister are going to do that. And I'm also going to be interviewed by Steve Gruber on Friday morning. And that's I think you can listen to Steve probably across the country. I think the radio is just Michigan based, but you can listen to him like all across Michigan. And they do web stuff too. So it's going to be on the radio, but also like filmed for like online stuff. So I gotta make sure I'm looking snatched early in the morning on Friday morning. But right now only Thursday is gonna be interrupted from what I know. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated, and thank you for all your support. When it comes to all this, it's been a labor of love, a long time project, and it is bittersweet. I felt pretty, kind of sad this morning. I was happy that it's released, but it's the first book that I've released, since my mom has passed away. And I was thinking about this book, especially because it's so much about a mom and her child. And also I was thinking about my werewolf book, because I'm like, mom never got to know how that's gonna end, so I'm like, she'll never know. Well, not that it's important where she is anyway, but we still wonder about things and miss people while we're here waiting to transition on to the next world, or next life, or life after this one, into heaven, or hopefully that's where you go. Not everybody's gonna go. You better make sure you're right with the Lord. But my mom definitely was. So anyway, let's get to the news. You heard me ramble long enough. Thank you for letting me talk. I want to show you guys this snippet from Jon Stewart's show, talking to Zoran Mamdani. And of course, Zoran Mamdani is running for mayor of New York and likely is going to be the mayor of New York. But the polls are tightening. The polls are tightening, and he's not like 20 points ahead, and he's like under 50%. So there's a chance that Andrew Cuomo could win. I think it's absolutely ludicrous that someone who had that massive scandal with the nursing homes, and he had a sexual assault scandal, was, inappropriate in the workplace, was forced to leave his post as governor due to scandal and just disgrace. And here he is, the only kind of good option for New York. I think it just really speaks to the sad state of our politics. I mean, there's a Republican running, but he's not going to win. But it's just insane how crazy things have gotten, and this sort of rhetoric, I guess, is partly why. So this is so dumb to me and annoying to me, but here we go.
I wish you all the best. Honestly, I think any New Yorker who looks at someone getting an opportunity, who's representing communities that have not been as represented, a Muslim, a young person, a progressive, a democratic socialist, there are so many different communities that are looking to you. And this, I hate to put it on you, as a bit of a Jackie Robinson moment. And I know that probably wields some weight, but man, oh man, what an exciting opportunity.
Thank
and
you.
I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Okay. So I understand he means like, I mean, someone different coming in and breaking the mold. If you're only looking at it from that perspective, whatever. But there's a lot of people who came in and did something before someone else did. You don't have to compare him to Jackie Robinson. You don't have to do that. And I understand the emotional connection that they're trying to portray here. As I already said in my opening, but let me repeat it. A lot of people will try to tie in so many other movements or groups to the Black experience in America, or the historical Black experience, because my experience isn't the same as my dad or his dad, and so on and so forth, right? And I don't want to appropriate out after their pain and their unique struggles. My life was nothing like the life of a slave, or someone going through Jim Crow and other things like that. It's people try to act like America hasn't changed. It's absurd. But we have enormous shame for the sort of discrimination that we had in this country as a whole. And when people invoke that sort of history, or they invoke the Black experience where African Americans had to go through historically in this country, they're hoping that you will that some of those feelings will transfer onto other minority groups. And by minority groups, I don't mean just like people who are Arab or Asian or Hispanic or whatever. I mean just a marginalized group. Like, all the time, people will bring up the trans stuff to me or other people, and they'll say, how can you as a Black woman think the way that you think and not be sympathetic toward them, and how they want to use your bathroom and how they want to use your locker room and play on your sports team. And the dumb thing that people started to say was, oh, how they're treating the trans and they don't want them to play on the sports teams is exactly how they treated the Blacks. Well, there's a reason why men don't play in women's sports. They have a biological advantage. It's just genetics, right? And I know that there's some male athletes that are just better than, just kind of more physically gifted than other men, but those differences are nothing compared to like the average difference between men and women. There was this trend on TikTok some time ago, and there's a song like, I woke up in a new Bugatti, talking about the car, whatever. And people would just be laying down and just, they'd do their head like this and glasses would fall on their face, and someone would pull them. And it was couples who were doing it with each other mostly. And so when you had a man pulling the woman, and you didn't see him in the frame when she got pulled, but she was just kind of snatched away. But when the woman tried to pull her partner, they were like scooting away because he's bigger and stronger. Even if they seem like kind of around the same size, the man could always pull the woman more. Now, sometimes you had parents and kids. You had Cliff and his sons. I think his son is Stuart, maybe. But the connects the father son Christian duo that goes around like college campuses. They did it, and Cliff couldn't pull his son too well or whatever. So there's different dynamics like that, but mostly it was couples. And I just thought it was a funny trend because it so plainly showed the difference between men and women that people want to ignore, and they'll pretend that they're so offended about, like, oh my gosh, you're saying that a woman can't compete with men, and how you think so little of women. Stop it. I think the world of women. However, men are bigger and stronger. It brings me no joy to admit the obvious, but it is what it is. And if it's not a big deal, then I guess we can just get rid of sex-based categories. But trying to compare that to people just saying, hey, Black people shouldn't be playing sports or whatever, drinking in the same water fountains and all this dumb stuff is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. When you're comparing different things, you want to make sure that the categories are somewhere in the same ballpark and the logic follows. You don't have to compare exactly the same things to each other, but the logic has to make sense when you're doing the comparison. So to compare transgender ideology, and it is an ideology, or even homosexuality, because that's behaviors. Like you can't change whether you're Black or you're Hispanic or your skin color or whatever. I guess maybe you could, but it costs you some money and you got to do some different stuff to your body. But mainly, you don't have a choice in how you're born. Okay, you may say you don't have a choice in who you have attraction to, but you have a choice in how you choose to act out and live your life with that, with your inclinations. So it's not the same in that regard. Definitely not the same in the regard of the transgender ideology. But when it comes to this comparison with Mamdani, a Muslim, a young person, there's been young people who've done a lot of stuff. They say progressives have gotten far in this country, a democratic socialist. Bernie's gotten far in this country or whatever. He said so many communities are looking at you, and this, as he said, is a bit of a Jackie Robinson moment. I think the thing that they think mostly fits that is him being a Muslim. And that is also ideology. Like, people are saying, oh, don't be so Islamophobic toward Mamdani and these other folks. Islam is fair game to criticize. I'm not saying go out there and be rude to every Arab you see. I don't support that. I think everybody's made in the image of God and you need to treat them as such. But you can definitely criticize an ideology, and Christianity is criticized all of the time. All of the time. Every little verse criticized. People take stuff out of context. You cannot bring it up, and we have a conversation about abortion and people just sniff it out, and you're like, you're a Christian, aren't you? You believe that people have inherent worth and dignity. That's I'm like, is that a bad thing? Obviously it's not. People will bring it up. They'll argue with you nonstop about the Bible and criticize it. Even though the Bible, Christianity, has majorly impacted the world for the better. So many things that we consider to be good about our country stems from Christianity. Like Ben Shapiro went on Bill Maher's show and he's like, why do you think that you and I agree so much on morality, even though I'm a Jewish person and you're an atheist? And he said it's because you were basically born on third base as far as morality goes. Like there was already all this stuff that was baked into the cake by the time you got here that was influenced by Judeo-Christian values. And the more they embrace these countries, like in the UK, embrace things like Islam. You got Richard Dawkins, who is trying to destroy Christianity, always criticizing it, being sad, like, oh, but I'm a cultural Christian and I like my Christmas trees, and then they feel so sad now, even though they were trying to destroy that stuff. Well, people are naturally religious towards something, and there's always going to be a vacuum, and they try to push out Christianity and something else came in, and you have all these people taking over their country. And then on top of that, you have like this woke ideology, this victim, this need to uplift the victim, this oppression Olympic thing, where you'll have affluent people who are like, oh, well, we have to just uplift these marginalized people, and they'll basically surrender everything to them because they don't want to be called Islamophobic, they don't want to be called racist, and they won't even like have report some crimes, like or carry them out to the fullest extent, punish people who do harm, like in these you have the sexual assault gangs and stuff that are going on in the UK, and all these people terrified that they're going to be called Islamophobic. So in New York, you have a lot of immigrants that are very pro Mamdani, and you have a lot of affluent, rich, white women, not just women, but men too, but who are so gung-ho on giving that support because it makes them feel virtuous. It makes them feel righteous or whatever. But have you analyzed anything about that ideology? Oh, you just can't talk about it. That's rude. You don't want to be Islamophobic. Do you know why 9/11 happened? I know Dave Smith tries to pretend like it's because the US was interfering in other places around the world and they just got so sick of it. But Osama bin Laden wrote a letter. We talked about it a couple weeks ago because Dave went on Hughes' show, Coleman Hughes, his show on with the Free Press, and they had a 3-hour conversation, and they talked about 9/11 and what got us into why there was a terror that happened. And Coleman seemed a little baffled, you know, that Dave, and I was really baffled, that he didn't really want to include this radical Islamic ideology. Like, he's like, even if you have the US interfering in other parts of the world, which many countries just interfere and do stuff like lobby or whatever, but it still wouldn't have happened with the planes going into the towers if there wasn't that radical Islamic element to it. And Dave didn't want to really accept that, which I found to be very interesting, perhaps even dishonest. I'm not sure. I don't want to exactly attribute motive, but I'm really puzzled by it because he's mentioned the different letters and writings from Osama bin Laden, and clearly in his letters, and we talked about it before, but you guys can look it up if you're unfamiliar with it. He was calling us to Islam. He believed that the Muslims are entitled to that land in Israel. There's so much land over in the Middle East that is occupied by Muslims, but Israel, they got to have that little piece of land too, because they say that they are actually the true religion because they're the ones who accept all the prophets, because they believe in the prophets of the Old Testament. They believe in Jesus. They don't think he's God, but they say he's a prophet. And they also believe in Prophet Muhammad. And how dare America be involved with making Israel a Jewish state, and we had to suffer because of it. And he laid out this logic of why, it's not just a government that's guilty, but the people that are guilty as well. And he said that they were calling us to Islam. They complained about Bill Clinton and his sexual escapades. They don't like us. And George W. Bush and them going around saying they don't like our freedoms, they should have never even phrased it that way. And Zoran Mamdani pretending like the world or the nation is so Islamophobic. There are people who were talking about radical Islam and stuff, but a lot people really went out of their way to really make that distinction with like, oh, it's the radical Islam, it's not everybody or whatever. And it's not everybody, but does their scriptures not talk about like taking out the infidels and so on? And I did a TikTok last night about Candace Owens when she read the Quran on her show, and she got a super chat from a Muslim viewer, and the verse that he put in the super chat was about a baby Jesus talking and defending Mary's honor. Now, there's nothing in the Bible like that where there's a baby Jesus just spitting out full sentences or even saying mother. I'm not mentioning that to be disrespectful, but it's just what the Muhammad wrote just sounded like complete fan fiction, and obviously it is. But then after that verse, maybe she liked it because she was Catholic and so on. And it's like, oh, he's defending Mary. Cool. But she started saying it's important to have true faith. Well, they don't have what they believe isn't true. And either we're right or they're right. Or I guess it could be neither, but I mean we're not wrong, but they can't be right and we be right. What they believe is contrary to what we believe. And then we're talking about the central tenets of our faith. If Jesus wasn't God and he didn't die on the cross, okay, even if he just died on the cross, but he's not God, like how would that sacrifice be sufficient for the whole world? And if he's just didn't die, wasn't crucified, then the debt of our sin isn't paid. And everything we believe, just throw it out. Just throw it out. And if he didn't die, then he didn't rise. So what they believe is contrary to what we believe. And in the following verses, after the one that she read on her live, it started saying that God has no son. Allah has no son. So they're attacking the divinity of Christ. And then it says that people believe other stuff and woe to them on like Judgment Day. So I don't know if that person trolled her or what, but I wouldn't have read it. I wouldn't have read it. This is an ideology. This is an ideology. And we are free to criticize that and free to not like it. We're free to be concerned if there's an alarming amount of cities popping up over the United States of America, which I live in Michigan. So there's Dearborn and Hamtramck. And people are complaining about waking up to the call of prayer. And you have some people defending it. Like that former MSNBC employee who got kicked off, Mamdani. I can't think of his name. Mehdi. And he tried to defend the call of praise. Like, it's just like church bells. It's not like church bells. What are you talking about? And it's 5 times a day. That's not considerate to the rest of the people that live there. But it has a very high concentration of Muslims. And they had some wild meetings after October 7th in Michigan. They have some wild conferences in Michigan. And Mamdani, he's a radical. His father's a radical. He was hanging out with radicals, a co-conspirator of a World Trade Center bombing. We're just supposed to ignore that? Miss Rachel, who is a children's programmer, huge children's programmer on like YouTube and stuff. She's been very pro, Palestine and stuff. And she spoke out against the Islamophobia directed toward Mamdani. I'm like, do you know what he believes? Do you know? You're a children's programmer. Their most moral person is a pedophile who married a 6-year-old. Does that disturb you? Does it disturb you that he's hanging out with people who are connected to terror? I find it disturbing. Maybe there's reasons why we should ask questions. People talk about Christians all the time. They talk about Christianity all the time. People are afraid usually to talk about Muslims or Islam rather. Why? I can imagine why. But they get a pass. And if you mention something, you're Islamophobic. And there are worse than people like who would stand up and talk about this stuff in the past. It's not Hitchens I'm thinking about. Maybe it is. Yeah, Christopher Hitchens. When he would talk about Islam, he's gone. I mean, he'd talk about Christianity and like it that either, but let me see if I can find his Barbary Pirate speech when he was on Bill Maher's show. Yeah, I got it.
Can I just start with, can we stop saying, could we just agree on this? Could we stop saying that we're fighting them over there so that we don't have to fight them over here?
Yes.
They're fighting us over there because we're over there. A recent study by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, I know that sounds like a bullshit organization.
It is a bullshit organization.
It is?
Yeah.
Why do you say that? I heard it was a very...
I've been studying it for years. How much time have you got?
Well, anyway...
You can hardly pronounce its name. I've known it for a long time. It is a bullshit organization. It's like the Lancet and the casualty figures. It's a junk science by junk scholars.
But, all right, tell me why I should believe...
However, you're right on your premise.
...that they really want to fight us in Dollywood, but they're not.
Well, let me give you an example from Mr. Jefferson, since you asked me to mention my book, which I happily do. Available, fine bookstores everywhere. In 1788, when the United States was barely a country...
Right.
was having its sailors taken as slaves by the Barbary states, the states of the Ottoman Empire in North Africa.
Tripoli.
The
shores of Tripoli.
The shores of Tripoli. And its people, its ships stopped, its crews carried off into slavery. We estimate 1.5 million European and American slaves taken between 1750 and 1815. Jefferson and Adams went to their ambassador in London and said, why do you do this to us? The United States has never had a quarrel with the Muslim world of any kind. We weren't in the Crusades. We weren't in the war in Spain. Why do you do this to our people and our ships? Why do you plunder and enslave our people? And the ambassador said very plainly, Mr. Abdul Rahman said, because the Quran gives us permission to do so, because you are infidels. And that's our answer. And Jefferson said, well, in that case, I will send a navy which will crush your state, which he did. And a good thing, too. Islamic fundamentalism is not created by American democracy. It's a lie to say so. It's a masochistic lie. And it excuses those who are the real criminals, and it blames us for the attacks made upon us. Don't have anything to do with this mention.
He was right on the money. Like, we should not be blamed for their fundamentalism that just makes them believe that they have the right to attack. I'm not saying everybody feels that way. But there's some bad stuff in their books, man. Glenn Beck also said something. I think I played it for you guys when he talked about it, but let me I think this is the right clip. This is long, so I'm pretty sure I played this guy for you guys before, but let me try to find the spot.
One question I have for you.
Of people trying to take down the West. They are trying to just hold your peace for a minute. This is why I said, Shirley, I can't do this. What is happening is we have Islamists occupying our countries. The next war that you will face, you know what our first foreign war was? Against the Barbary pirates. They were the Islamic pirates, okay? Jefferson, when he ended that war, because nobody had the stomach for it, he said, I gotta warn you, everyone should read the Quran. He actually had I have a copy of it, printed Quran, printed for Americans to read. He didn't put out little teeny clips. He wanted every American to read the Quran. He said, because I'm telling you now, this is our first foreign war. But if we don't pay attention, I guarantee it will be our last foreign war. That is coming, whether you like it or not. That is a plan well laid out. And yes, George Soros is a big part of it. I was the man who taught America about George Soros.
Yeah, so the reason why Mamdani, and there was a clip I saw earlier today. I don't know if I can find it. Ben did play on a show. I know I had bookmarked it myself. Not bookmarked it, I liked it, but I like a lot of things, so I have to see if it's in my feed somewhere. He likes socialism or communism or whatever because he sees capitalism as an extension of Zionism. And it made me think about how Candace Owens had Ami Kozak on her show, and he was trying to talk to her about how Hamas doesn't share our values. They don't believe in peace and prosperity and capitalism and all these different sorts of things. And Candace tried to just dismiss him and make it seem like Israel isn't really a bastion of freedom and, over there. And she brought up the Muslim quarters thing, which is so dumb. And she also made some comments about Jews live very comfortably in the United States, to kind of dismiss different concerns that he or other people might have about the rise of anti-Semitism, which is really silly if you think about certain things that have happened since that time she did that interview. But he was correct. Obviously, that Hamas doesn't share our values, but there's other folks who are partnering because they see the connection with Israel and capitalism and Western values. It's about destroying the West. And it's not just a right-wing talking point. They want to go after the West. It's not just Israel that they're going to go after, or that people here will go after. That's their shiny object that they're really, really, focused on. But a lot of the people who, our pro-Palestine, free Palestine folks. They were the folks talking about, hey, colonizer, and we need to take out the colonizers, and that apologize to your white guilt. You can rob stores and loot and do all this kinds of different things, and it's what you deserve. And just listen and affirm the pain of all these other minority groups and so on. Like it's all like tied together with there's different systems of oppression, all so they can tear down the pillars that we built up this nation with, that we built up the West with. And once it's gone, they get to, try to build their, communist utopia or whatever, but it's just not going to go that way. It's just not going to go that way. And between, if they tear down the West, and it's only between the Muslims and the communists, my money's on the Muslims. Taking it all, for the win. But Zoran, he's, doing this final stretch of the campaign, talking about 9/11 and how, his aunt, which I guess was his, allegedly not his aunt, but his dad's cousin or something like that, who they didn't name names. Who knows if the story is even remotely true, but she stopped taking the subway because she didn't feel safe in her hijab. And there's people who feel unsafe right now because of crime. And it's just really so tone deaf. I don't know if it'll make a difference though, because these people want to vote for an agent of change. I guess they want to vote for the outsider that they think, the underdog, even though he is, as elite as they come, but he's, in their mind, he's who they want him to be in their mind. I just hope that if these people do vote for him, it's not just because they don't know the facts, and a lot of people don't know the facts and the different policies and things that he's actually proposed. I don't want the snake charmer to just pull a fast one over on everybody. Like, if that's your decision, where you feel the country is going and where you want to support, then it is what it is, and we have to deal with that, or they have to deal with that. And unfortunately, it speaks a lot about our country. But I just don't want these people to wake up months later into his term and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know he was a communist. And granted, the news and other people have been trying to hide that information, but there's plenty of evidence that you guys can go look up and see that he's a dang communist. Anyway, let me show you this clip of Tucker Carlson. I guess this is all kind of still on theme. He had on Nick Fuentes, and he made a comment about Christian Zionists that was very interesting.
How do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that, John Bolton? I mean, I've known them all, George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen like be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I can just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody. Because like, what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian. That's why. So I don't, like, why not? Like, I'm pissed at the neocons, very pissed. I've said that a million times. I've been mad since December of 2003 when I went to Iraq. And so, like, I went and asked straightforward questions to Ted Cruz, because that seemed like There's a sitting senator who's like serving for Israel by his own description. He seemed like a worthy target. I'm not going after MTG, who's like the most sincere like, why not go after Ted Cruz? I don't understand.
First of all, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying some off the wall stuff, and just because someone is sincere, even if she is sincere, then she's nuts. Which I've never been a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. There might have been moments that she said something funny or whatever, but I've always seen Marjorie Taylor Greene as basically our equivalent of Jasmine Crockett. Like when they got into the back and forth, I'm like, these two are like a mirror of like just each other. They're just inverted images of just nonsense. So I've never been a huge fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she's been off the wall with a lot of stuff that she's been saying, and very much not serving America First or MAGA agenda or President Trump and Republican Party right now. But even if you're sincere, you can be wrong and be supporting and saying bad things. That's a bad metric of whether or not you're going to attack and talk about somebody. This thing about the Christian Zionists, which, by the way, this interview that he had with Nick was the tone. It's not that people like Tucker can't have on controversial figures, but what kind of questions are you going to ask? Like, how are you going to push back against these people and dig into some of the controversial things that they said? Because I used to watch Tucker's show on Fox, and he would get pretty confrontational with people, and he bring on really, really dumb libs, and they would say dumb things, and he would ask questions, and then he'd make his Tucker face, and it was good TV. Eventually it got, old for me, but he was very adversarial when it came to his conversation with Ted Cruz and asking like the silliest, like ultra specific questions to try to trip him up on different issues. And he just has not brought that energy to other people who have been very controversial figures, almost as if he just wants to have them on so he can platform them and normalize them and so on. But a Zionist is someone who believes that Israel has a right to exist. You believe that there should be a Jewish state in Israel. That's what it means. That's what it means. So if you are Christian, plus you believe this thing, you despise them, you hate them. You hate what? Me, my dad, Charlie Kirk? Like, that just seems really absurd. That seems really absurd. I know he's like attaching all this different ideology and biblical interpretations with that phrase. But a Zionist literally means that you believe that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state. That's what it means. And you can believe that they are owed that land because of promises made in the Bible. You can believe that that land is theirs because there was an agreement that that land was theirs. And you could believe it's their land because they fought and defended that land. But there's a lot of ways that Israel has been legitimized as their territory. And if you're like, well, I don't like ethno states, if that's the only one that you're obsessed with, it seems a little suspect. It seems a little suspect. So I find Tucker's commentary very concerning nowadays. And I've found it concerning for a while. And I'll bring up this point. This has nothing to do with foreign policy, but it just is an example of how far I think he's gone. one of the first interviews that he did, and I've talked about this before, when he started doing interviews on X, was of a man who claimed that he had sex with Barack Obama when he was in the Senate in Illinois. So, was he a state senator? He must have been like in the Illinois and not like a senator. Yeah, I think it was probably before then. But he claimed that he had slept with Barack Obama and did drugs with him. So Tucker Carlson did a monologue before the man started speaking, and he said that, you know, people say, oh, if you ask questions and they say that you're crazy, and we're just trying to get everybody to accept the fact that what he's saying is credible. You don't have to like all the way believe him, but that he is credible. He's like, he even took a lie detector test. And when they said that he took the lie detector test, they didn't reveal that he failed it. So why did Tucker Carlson bring up that piece of information, but not reveal that he failed that? It's just like they revealed that piece of information to make him credible, but they didn't want their audience to really be informed. It was a manipulation tactic. And I'm, I didn't, when I saw that interview, I saw that he didn't really push back. He just kind of listened and kind of accepted it. He didn't say, oh, this is 100% true, but he didn't push back on the allegations and press and ask hard questions. He was nowhere near the level that he was like giving Ted Cruz. And I don't know if it's just because he wanted views. I don't know if he wanted to just embarrass Obama. I don't know what his motivation is, but it made me look at him sideways. It made me really look at him sideways. And then, of course, there's just been a lot of ways that he's flip-flopped on different stuff, like Douglas Murray, for example. You know, when he was talking to Dave Smith about him, you know, he was like, oh, who's this guy even anyways? But before he got canceled on Fox, he had him on his show and acted like he was such an important journalist. So the switch up with Tucker on a lot of different levels has been extreme. So I don't trust Tucker Carlson. When I told my sister today about Tucker and what he said about the Christian Zionists, and she's like, Tucker said that? And so she's baffled. I'm baffled. A lot of people are baffled. And yesterday I talked about his money and monies that he's made and stuff. And I don't know, he's never wanted for money or needed money. So maybe money's not even so much a motivating factor. Maybe it's just like, what do you give the man who has everything and can afford everything? Maybe it's just power and influence, and the fact that he can just make this kind of impact and maybe tear down the West or undermine Trump and the neocons and all these the conservative movement. Maybe it's just a power flex. We don't know what else other people might have been offered to say the things that they say, but maybe it is just a power trip. I don't know. All I know is that I don't like where a lot of this is going right now, and I think we need to be really concerned. I think we need to be really concerned. Anyway, before I let you go, I want to play, well, not play, I want to show you guys something from the White House. Sorry, I got to send it a message. Donald Trump, or I'm not, Trump himself didn't obviously make this, but on the White House website, they decided to do important events. Okay. And these major events timeline, as people are talking about the renovations of it, there's some very interesting things that they decided to put in here. Okay. And I don't feel like they're all appropriate. Okay. So design plans for building after the War of 1812, addition of the different things. West Wing coming in, Oval Office, the Rose Garden. Man, people were mad about Melania and the Rose Garden and different upgrades and things that they did. Um, Addition of the East Wing, total reconstruction, addition of the briefing room, and then they have the Bill Clinton scandal. Major events timeline of things that happened. It's that's not even the last of it. So we got the Muslim Brotherhood visit, which was very controversial at the time. But I guess the White House just really wants to remind you of that stuff. Then you got the tennis pavilion. Oh, and there's the cocaine discovered, which I guess they're just going to throw out there and say that it was Hunter. And I think that's probably a good guess. And I find it really hard to believe that they couldn't find out whose cocaine that was. But is it appropriate for the White House website? I don't think so. Trans Day of Visibility. The Biden-Harris administration hosts transsexuals at the White House in 2023 and goes on to establish the Transgender Day of Visibility on the same day as Easter Sunday in 2024. I know that this particular event embarrassed the Biden White House, and this individual, a lot of people were talking about him on TikTok and stuff. So I guess Trump just wanted to bring it up again. I just don't feel it's appropriate to go on the White House. I just don't. I don't know who runs these accounts. I'm not terribly surprised. I would assume people who were on the campaign probably got carried over to actually working in the White House. This was typically happens. They don't hire everybody, but during Trump's always liked a good troll. He's always had people who liked the memes and trolling and different things like that. There were some things during the primary that I didn't like. Some of the things that they did to Ron DeSantis, like the bingo cards, like, oh, here's a spot for Ron defending slavery, which Ron DeSantis didn't do, but they were using like Democrat talking points that were in the media about Black history or sort of curriculum or whatever. And they're calling, I think, Nikki Haley bird brain or something. So they actually like had a bird that was like sent to her hotel room or something like that, or cage. And just really childish stuff. And apparently they're just carrying that over to the White House. And sometimes they put videos up and memes, but I just feel like this is really a lot. And I would like some kind of decorum. And people can say like, oh, people know what they got with Trump. We weren't at this stage of trolling before the first time around. Maybe this is lame duck kind of trolling. He's not going to get reelected, so who cares what he writes? Maybe it's just, hey, these crazy people tried to kill me. Like the left tried to kill me. They tried to jail me. Why do I care? Go out there, be reckless, be like, I don't care. Put cracked out Hunter Biden on the White House. I don't care. Put them fake titties on the White House. I don't care. Maybe that's the mindset now. I just know he's capable of doing better and his staff are capable of doing better. And I don't think that it's too much of an ask to ask them to just do better. you guys can let me know what you think, but I think it's a little too much. I think it's a little too much. Anyway, um someone said Tucker's trip to Russia was weird too. How wonderful the grocery stores were and the cleanliness of the public transport seems sus too. Yeah, I remember that. I talked about that too. The his grocery store trip was weird, and just because there's some nice areas in big cities where tourists will come in, or dignitaries or whatever, doesn't mean that the rest of the country is nice and thriving. And to me, you don't see a lot of like great uplifting things about the US coming from like Tucker and talking about our values and different things. There's maybe moments when you're trying to like play to a crowd a bit, but people start looking at Tucker's newsletters and they are sus too. Like, also, bringing down Israel while lifting up Qatar. And so, or Qatar. It's all very sus. I don't know where all the money trail goes. I don't know what all the motivations are. I just know that I don't like the content, and the content itself. I'm not sure of the motivations of some of these people, but the actual content of what they're saying and what they're producing, I don't like, and it's fair game to talk about. And to the people out there who are like, well, why are you talking about it? And we're all on the same side. He attacked Ted Cruz. He attacked Ben Shapiro. He said that, oh, for people who obsess about things that are going on in other countries while people are dying of fentanyl, you must not love America. Like, that's what he said about Ben Shapiro. Like, 2 years ago, and never had it out with Ben, never sat down to have a conversation or debate or anything. He'll bring on every other person but won't talk to Ben. But so it's okay for them to attack people, but it's not okay for us to talk about what they talk about and push back. That's silly. But my concern is how much influence he still has with, like, I don't know, the White House and JD Vance, I guess. And especially, like, I didn't understand after his text messages were leaked and stuff, after the lawsuit with Dominion Software, and Tucker said that he despised Trump and he couldn't wait to be rid of him. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of people who've said things about not liking Trump or whatever, and I've been very angry due to like policy stuff regarding Trump, with like on the subject of abortion mostly, but it just was strange to me that he still got his interviews later, and etc etc. So I don't know all the dynamics of that. I don't, but I don't like what's happening. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go back to news.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream. Or my side, all the good stuff you guys can support. Very much appreciate, and appreciate you guys. I do also want to recommend you guys go check out my book. This is my proof copy. I didn't have a copy in my immediate vicinity when I went live. So if you buy one of these, this ugly strip will not exist. But there is a link in the description that can take you to my book website. If you guys want to buy bigger, you guys can get hardback, you guys can get it in paperback. And really, really excited and very proud of the work that I did and the work that my sister did. And I'm glad that that is finally out. So anyway, I got some other things I got to do because there's some cool stuff that's going on that I can't disclose quite yet, but I can guarantee you to be cool. So I got to get going. But God bless you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.